Rotary Foundation, the International, which was started all the way back in 1917. But we also support our own Rotary Foundation of Knoxville. Sometimes we have trouble understanding the differences between the two foundations, but you are not going to have any more trouble after today. You're going to hear from past presidents past President Ed Anderson about the Rotary Foundation, the international one, and then from past President Jim Decker and President-elect Rachel Ford about our local Rotary Foundation of Knoxville. So let's get started. Ed, Sergeant Ed.
Thank you, President Shannon. Nobody's going to have to do any push-ups or sit-ups today. And Mayor, if you guys don't mind throwing the first slide up there. About 4 weeks ago, I stood up here on World Polio Day and made an announcement about the Polio Plus Society. And if President Shannon, if you wouldn't mind meeting several of our members over by the banner, I'd like to ask Bo Crowley, Wynette Davis, Terry Igo, Russ Jensen, Doug Lawyer, and Krista Rosenberg to please meet the president. They have a emblem from the Polio Plus Society for you. But at that meeting, we talked about the Polio Plus Society, which is an effort in our district to look for members who consistently support the Rotary Foundation's End Polio Now campaign. Everyone you see in front of you, including President Shannon, I have her pin later, has committed to give at least $100 every year to the End Polio Now campaign until polio is eradicated from the face of the earth. Each of those $100 contributions is matched by our district, which becomes $200, and then it's matched by the Gates Foundation. So each $100 contribution becomes $600 toward our global campaign to end polio. I also should mention Bill McGrath, Assistant Governor Bill McGrath is a member. Bill is in Tampa today. Frank Robinson is also a member. Frank said he has come down with a little bit of bronchitis. So Frank sends his regrets to everybody. But members of the Polio Plus Society, welcome and thank you for your efforts to eradicate polio. All right, can you hit the next slide, please, Dominic? And I'll just tell you when to click ahead if you don't care. Bunch of good-looking people in that picture. At the 1917 Rotary Convention, Rotary President Arch Klump proposed setting up an endowment for the purpose of doing good in the world. Those words were contained in his speech. That one idea and an initial contribution of $26.50 set in motion a powerful force that's transformed lives around the globe. Next slide, please. The Rotary Foundation is carefully overseen by your fellow Rotary members. They've been elected as trustees of the Rotary Foundation. They ensure that your donations are well invested and spent wisely so that they can best do good in the world. For the 17th consecutive year, the Rotary Foundation has received the highest rating. This rating demonstrates strong financial health, accountability, and transparency, and that rating is Charity Navigator's assessment of donations, sustains its programs and services, and practices good governance and openness. They do a good job with that money. Next slide, please, Donna. Thank you. The Rotary Foundation's annual fund, which you'll hear about today, helps pay for local and international grant projects. When you give to the annual fund, you'll help people like Chen Fan Wang, that's him carrying those baskets of cabbage. He's a farmer in the village of Painan, Taiwan, and those farmers have long grown cabbage using methods such as pesticides and turning the soil over each year. Those conventional farming practices were harming that community's water supply. Local Rotarians from Taiwan help the farmers adopt more sustainable farming practices. They also help support farmers in training in e-commerce and marketing to help those farmers sell their harvest. Since this grant was implemented in 2021, those farmers have increased their revenues by 15-fold through the project. They're growing more expensive crops, better agricultural diversification. Their children have better educational opportunities because they're not spending as much time in the field. The farmers have more free time and they live in a cleaner and healthier environment. When you give to the annual fund, you support thousands of projects around the world just like this one. These are projects that are created by Rotary members at the local level, developed to meet the community's needs, and they thereafter foster international friendship. I'm now in charge. The Rotary Foundation is dedicated to causes, we call them areas of focus, that build international relationships improve lives, and promote a more peaceful world. At the College of Knowledge, we say we don't try to do everything. We try to fit our projects into one of these 7 areas of focus. But the Rotary Foundation can help turn your passion for one of these causes into action and lasting change. Rotarians lead the projects in these areas, and the Rotary Foundation supports these efforts with financial grants. When donors are asked why they support the annual fund, many say because you give back more than you give. When you contribute to the annual fund, part of your gift becomes available to clubs in your community. So when we in District 6780 donate money to the annual fund, donate money to the Rotary Foundation's annual fund, about half of that money comes back to our own district and our own clubs for projects. When you donate to the annual fund for 3 years, that contribution is invested. And then in year 4, approximately 50% of that money comes back as what's called district designated funds. I'm a member of RAA, which is Rotarians Against Acronyms. So I'll try not to call it DDF. But those are district designated funds. Local clubs apply for that money. And then when Shannon made the announcement about the $10,000 grant project that we're going to vote on in January, $5,000 of that money is money that was contributed 3 years ago to the annual fund. Clubs all over the district are applying for these grants. But we decide how to use the money. We decide the project. And in January, the local community service committee is going to present us with a slate of projects to choose from, and we'll choose one for the upcoming year. The remaining portion goes into what Rotary Foundation calls the World Fund. And that money is used for international grants, grant matches, foundation programs that are available to all Rotary districts, or aid and disaster relief in areas where the trustees determine it to be needed most. So when there's a hurricane that runs through North Carolina or a storm surge in New Jersey, the Rotary Foundation chips in with what's called disaster grants, and those come from that World Fund. And the funds we have access to this year came from our contributions made 3 years ago. It's useful for planning because you know how much money you're going to spend, because you can look at how much money was donated 3 years ago. But it's also important that we keep making contributions so the flow of money continues. Look at that handsome fella.
Talk about some damn project, right?
Our own global grants. Oh, you stole my joke. They support sustainable projects in other countries, like that dam repair that we had in Africa, and a college which trains trauma nurses in Africa. We've supported a number of projects in Matazalka, Hungary. Those are the kids in Matazalka on the right with global grants. We built a skateboard park, we bought appliances, and this year, this coming year, we have a $51,000 grant approved to build high-tech classrooms in Matazalka. And Brent Midget's been a big part of that grant, and I'll tell you how the funding came about. So it sounds like we gave a lot of money. Rotary really matches your money when you do a project with a club in another country. Our club came up with $2,000 in donations for that project. It's a $51,000 project. The club foundation that Jim's going to talk about matched that $2,000 donation, so that makes $4,000. The balance of those funds came from a small donation from the Matazalka Club, but most of it came from Rotary's World Fund. We applied for a grant. There's people at the district that evaluate those grants, and they determined ours was a worthwhile grant to pursue. So it's a lot of money that came back to us through that World Fund. Those district grants, we've done a bunch of them. We get our $10,000 out of the Rotary Foundation and more every year. You may remember when we rehabilitated the Beaumont Magnet Academy School Library back in 2015, 2016. That project came about because Ellen Fowler and Mark Webb delivered dictionaries to some kids that needed them, and they realized that library was not in great shape. We renovated the Elkmont Amphitheater at the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We provided food for kids that didn't have it through the Second Harvest Food for Kids program, healthcare through the Interfaith Clinic. Kids that had perfect attendance got new bikes. We supported reading and literacy projects at the Wesley House, the Boys and Girls Club, this most recent year at the East Tennessee Freedom Schools, and we did the Helping with Mamas project, which was a lot of fun. For each one of those grants, we raised roughly $2,500 at our club fundraiser, and that line on your due statement that says, please donate to the club foundation. The club foundation matched that for $5,000, and then we applied for a district grant. So that DDF, those district designated funds, came back in the form of $5,000 to our club each year. Worldwide, about a third of all Rotarians give to the annual fund. Our club does much better. You guys are great. We're closing in on 90% of our members give something to the annual fund each year. Sorry, there's some statistics about that. Even small donors are important. Donors who give less than $100 worldwide still contribute $5.5 million to the annual fund. And you can see all the different grants and money that was given. Those statistics are about a year old, but they're current. Our club and the Rotary Foundation recognizes people who give money. This is where I get a lot of questions. So, a Paul Harris sustaining member, or a PHSM, donates at least $100 to the annual fund of the Rotary Club of Knoxville, of the Rotary Foundation each year. Jim's gonna kick me if I get the foundation. The international one. I was a sustaining member for about 6 years, and I decided I'm not that far away from becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, so I checked in the last $350 or whatever it was. People who donate $1,000 are recognized as Paul Harris Fellows. And I know a lot of you are wearing your pins today. Thank you for wearing those pins, and thank you for your support of the Rotary Foundation. I'll say this as an aside. Meryl and I found a bunch of pins in the Rotary office. We're not sure who they belong to. If you have misplaced your Paul Harris pin, or you aren't sure if you have the right pin, please come see me. I have the list that tells which pin you should have, and we'll make sure you get the correct pin. I know I found a handful of members that didn't have the correct pin, so we're trying to rectify that. So the Rotary Foundation recognizes donors who give at least $1,000, and you can give the money either to the annual fund or the polio campaign. They both count. And when that person cumulatively gives $1,000, they become a Paul Harris Fellow. That $1,000 also entitles you to receive a recognition point for each dollar you give, and you can use those points to make someone else a Paul Harris Fellow, even if that person is not a Rotarian. I know Brooks Clark had some family members that he made a Paul Harris Fellow with his extra points. All Paul Harris Fellows receive a lapel pin and a certificate, and you may notice as you look around the room that pins some of them have little jewels on them. Some of the jewels are blue and some are red. Each time you give another 1,000, someone who gives $2,000 is a Paul Harris Fellow +1. So there's a blue sapphire. You give 3,000, it's a +2, +3, +4. When you get to +5, your badge gets kind of full. So there's 5 blue sapphires. I'm going to give one of those to the president here in a moment. Well, I'm not giving it to you, you earned it. And then the sapphires turn red. So 6, 7, 8 are 1, 2, and 3 red sapphires. You don't get a Paul Harris Fellow +9 pin, you become a major donor, and you get a larger pin that's diamond shaped. But take a look when you see your pins, and I'd like to take a second to recognize some of our new donors. First one I'd like to call up is Chad Turner. And as Chad met his way to meet the president, I'll tell you, Chad, that past President Bill McGrath has made a contribution to the foundation significant to make you a Paul Harris Fellow. And Bill couldn't be here today, but he asked me to pass on this message to you. Bill said, I wanted to recognize Chad's history of outstanding service to Rotary. Within a year of joining, he chaired the Habitat for Humanity Home Bill. He's also chaired the Peace Committee. He's worked diligently with membership retention and has always been a quiet yet positive influence on our club. So Chad, on behalf of Bill, I ask President Shannon to present you with your Paul Harris Fellow. Congratulations and thank you. I'd also like to call up Michael Bear and Lisa Dijon. I don't want to stop and see President Shannon there a minute, Mike. Michael joined our club just 8 months ago, and within a very short time, he was already a Paul Harris Fellow. But a couple of weeks ago, Michael attended the Rotary Leadership Institute and kind of took a deep dive into the foundation. He wasn't going to boot camp, he was in. I'm pleased to announce that Michael has become a member of what Rotary Foundation calls their Bequest Society. And Michael has made a commitment for future gifts of $25,000 or more to the Rotary Foundation. And I just threw your pin on it. There it is. Michael, on behalf of the Rotary Foundation, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Bequest Society and to ask President Shannon to present you with your membership pin.
This is a beautiful pin.
Thank you. We now have 5 members of the Bequest Society, and Mike is going to present his own Paul Harris Fellow to Lisa. So Mike, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ed. And thanks, Ed. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So Lisa, we actually met through NAMI, the organization I'm the president of the board with. She was the executive director at the time, and we became really close friends. And really, that being said, I'm honored to utilize the donation and recognition points to earn for her the Paul Harris Fellow. So I just wanted to congratulate her on that. Thank you.
I'm going to trade places with President Shannon and ask Sharon Hudson to come forward. You're Liz.
Thank you. Sharon is one of our brand new Paul Harris Fellows. She's the executive director of the American Red Cross for this region and her office right here on Middlebrook Pike. She currently serves as a director on our 2 boards, the Rotary Foundation of Knoxville and Rotary Club of Knoxville. Sharon joined us just within the past few years, but she's doing a great job and she's really jumped in with both feet. She's very familiar with local nonprofits, and that's why I'm thrilled that you and your husband discussed this as a family and decided that the International Rotary Foundation was a worthy recipient for your funds. So you embody the Rotary spirit. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you, President Shannon. I want to ask Waynette Davis to come up. This is Waynette's 3rd Rotary Club. And Rotary didn't know that Waynette had been in a Rotary Club before when she joined ours. The president has something for you, Waynette. But Waynette came to me and said, Ed, I've always given the Paul Harris Fellow, and I looked at the report and said, well, they don't know about it. So I got in touch with Evanston. We managed to track Waynette's points down. Waynette has made an additional contribution to the Rotary Foundation, which I believe her employer is matching. So if your employer does that, do that. But Waynette is now a Paul Harris Fellow +1. Thank you, Waynette. And Alan Staley will come up. Do we have one left, Madam President?
We do.
All right. President Shannon is presenting Alwyn with a Paul Harris Fellow +4. Alwyn joined our club in 2022, and Alwyn has always shown his consistent generosity and support of the Rotary Foundation. There's not a lot of people that volunteer for this committee, but Alwyn volunteers to serve on our committee every year. Alwyn's a Paul Harris Society member. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. And always gives through Rotary Direct. He makes those contributions automatically. Poor Merrill doesn't have to endorse any checks or run them through any accounts or anything like that. And during this year, Alwyn's been an excellent member, as he always is, of the Rotary Foundation. So Alwyn, thank you for your ongoing support of the Rotary Foundation. All right. I mentioned Paul Harris Society, which Alwyn is a member of, and the members of the Paul Harris Society expressed their intent to give $1,000 each year to the annual fund or the Polio Plus Fund. Some do it all at once. I'm going to tell on Alwyn, he does it all at once. Some of us do it $85 a month, and we like to get those credit card points. The Paul Harris Society has grown since it was introduced to more than 30,000 members in 150 countries, and we have 18 of those members in our club. I hope we can convince more of you to become members today. A lot of ways to give, and I hope you'll think about making the Rotary Foundation your charity of choice. You can join Rotary Direct, which is our recurring giving program that Alwyn belongs to. You can give online at rotary.org/donate. All this is on the flyers on your table. Or you can donate through the club. You can talk to any member of the committee. Me, Alwyn, Mark Lindquist here, Kim Eisenberg, Amy Cole. We're all glad to help you. We can mail the check. And if your company matches charitable contributions like Waynette's does, please request a matching gift form from your employer, and we'll make sure that happens. But no matter how you choose to give, I hope you'll join me in supporting our Rotary Foundation by donating to the annual fund or the Polio Plus campaign this year. Gifts of any size have a big impact when they're put to use by our foundation and our network of Rotarians around the world. So thank you for doing good in the world. And before I yield the floor, I'm going to ask the president to step forward, because the president gets to give out all the pins except me. Shannon Holland is now a Paul Harris Fellow +5. She has the shiniest pin that they give you. It's kind of disappointing when you go to a +6 because there's only one on it. And Shannon is also a member of the Polio Plus Society. She joined about a year ago, but I don't know that she was properly recognized. So President Shannon, thank you for your support of the movement. And thank you for India.
Thank you very much. And that was an excellent presentation, but we still have one more to go. Past President Jim, would you please come forward? Jim is for the second year leading our Rotary Foundation of Knoxville Committee, and he's got an excellent report for us. Jim?
Now, let me say before I get started, I don't have a fancy PowerPoint presentation like Ed did, so hopefully you'll bear with me. But I also want to say that I'm a proud Paul Harris Fellow member as well. Okay, so I'm not here to try to play one against the other. Our club is very fortunate in that we have our own local foundation as well. I can just say we're somewhat unique, not totally unique, but when you look at other clubs across the country, we're one of very few that have our own local foundation. So I've been privileged for the last 2 years to serve as the chair of our Rotary Foundation of Knoxville Committee, which oversees our local foundation. Now, I want to ask you at some point, those of you who have one, our printed club directory, I don't know how many of those we even still give out or have. It's been a few years since it's been printed. But on page 32 of that directory, you'll see a description of our local foundation. Okay, so I want to encourage you, if you have a copy of this, to pull it out and read it. So let me give you sort of the highlights. Our local foundation was created back in 1929, so it's been around a while as well. You recall that our club was established in 1915, and one of the founders of our club was David Chapman. So we recognize that name, right? Chapman Highway. He's also considered the father of the Great Smoky Mountains. And because of his interest in Rotary and the Smokies, obviously there was sort of a collaborative effort and, back then towards the establishment of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Our foundation played an important role not too long ago with the wall for the Friends of the Smokies, which is at Sugar Land's Visitor Center. So those of you who frequent the Smoky Mountains, if you stop at Sugar Lands, you'll see a wall that really was established and provided, the funding provided by our local foundation here in the Rotary Club of Knoxville. Something that we can all be very proud of. Okay, so over the years, our foundation has grown. Okay, we've taken great pride in being able to provide scholarships for worthy students. In fact, that was probably one of the fundamental reasons why our local foundation was created, to provide financial assistance to worthy college students. We also support a lot of local community service projects, and you've heard reference to that over the years. Things like Free Flu Shot Saturday, literacy, the arts. We provided funding to the Knoxville Museum of Art. The Peace Garden was established through the efforts of our local foundation, the East Tennessee History Center. As Ed just referenced, we've also provided a role in assisting and collaborating with the Rotary Foundation to provide funds to Madasalka, to the orphanage there and other parts and other countries. Now, we also recognize that in order for us to continue doing these type of activities, we have fundraising events. There's an annual event that each of you are invited to participate in every year to raise funds for current year projects. Okay, and I know Brent's been very instrumental in that the last few years. Hopefully you got something rolled up your sleeve for next year, or who else? Oh, Tyler, okay, I'm sorry. So we'll look forward to that, probably sometime early next year. But in recent years, we've had some very successful events to generate additional funding that goes to our foundation so that we can provide the necessary funding for worthy recipients. Our bylaws call for a committee to be established to oversee the funds. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm the chair currently. We have 8 members on that committee, 4 past presidents, and then in addition to that, the current officers, our current president, our current treasurer, and also our president-elect. Now, interesting enough, this year, we've been sort of in the midst of another major effort, which I'm going to call on Rachel here in just a moment to describe, but we're in the middle of a campaign on our own. And so because of that, my year as chairman, I don't look at it like a year-to-year thing. I look at it as a collaborative effort. And so both last year's committee, this year's committee have been very instrumental in establishing a goal that we want to achieve to bolster or make sure that the funds available through our foundation are strong. Okay, and so we've been in the midst of a campaign, and again, I'm gonna let Rachel talk about that in a moment. Now, that's not the only campaign we ever done. Back in 2005, those of you who were in the club at that time may have remembered our Century campaign. It was a big deal, very successful. We followed up with that a few years later with our Century 2 campaign to add additional funds as well. This year being our 110th anniversary as a club, we thought it was important that we conduct another campaign and also give those of you who are new to our club the opportunity to learn more about our foundation and to contribute as well. So we've been working sort of behind the scenes for the last several months, trying to raise money to bolster the corpus of our foundation funds. Now, before I turn it over to Rachel, I'm going to call her in just a moment. Let me just mention that those funds are invested and reside with the East Tennessee Foundation. Keith Barber's here. Obviously, as a member of our club, he's very instrumental in making sure those funds are invested wisely. Sam Albritton, past President Sam, and also served on the board of the East Tennessee Foundation. So we feel very confident that the funds are being overseen appropriately and invested wisely. So we're appreciative of that collaborative relationship that we have with the East Tennessee Foundation. We currently have a fund balance just north of $2 million. And that's exciting. Okay, that was really one of the things we wanted to accomplish as part of our new campaign. And the market helped us out a little bit. So that helped us even reach that much quicker than we really envisioned. So back to the campaign. As we began formulating some plans to conduct another campaign, we said, well, we need someone to spearhead the campaign and serve as our campaign chair. So we approached Rachel Ford. Interesting enough, I think the timing of that was not the same as asking her to be president-elect, but nevertheless, it worked out very nicely because she now can conduct a campaign and conclude that campaign as she enters in her year as president this next year. So I'm going to call Rachel to come up here and sort of give you an update as to where we stand with the campaign and also tell you how you can help us achieve our goal. Rachel?
Thank you, Jim. It's great to be here today again to talk to you all about the Legacy 110 campaign. It's a fun time to be associated with our club and the fact that we are one of those clubs, as Jim said, that does have a foundation associated with us. I'm passionate about the wonderful local work that we are able to do with the funds that come through our foundation. I think some of you sat here last spring, maybe it was May or June, and we heard from Shatea Crowley and Jabin Carter, who are the two students who are college freshmen. They're finishing up their first semester of college, and we're helping make that possible, right? The funds that come out of our local foundation are making their education possible. And as Jim said, that's been going on for almost 100 years, because the original title of our foundation was that we were involved with student loan funds. We have transitioned that over the years to actual scholarships. This is no longer a loan. We gift this money to folks. And because of the generosity of many of you sitting in this room, and thank you for those of you who have taken my phone calls and my emails and other things, I appreciate you answering me. I am like amazingly thrilled to tell you that we will have an additional minimum of 6 new scholarships that we will be able to fund and start the process of giving to other students. Again, because of the generosity of the people that are in this club. And I find that to be so humbling, and I'm so appreciative to all of those of you who are willing to make these sorts of gifts. There is a flyer on your table today. You can see a bit of the information about what we do with our funds, the history of the fund itself, and what we are planning to do in the future. You can see the individuals who have already made gifts and commitments to the campaign. We are accepting gifts in 3-year pledge increments. So if that is of interest to anyone, I would tell you to keep that in mind. Our update for you today, you can see our little thermometer over there, sort of ambiguous there on how far that red goes up. As Jim mentioned, we have a $500,000 goal. As of today, our campaign sits at $383,300. So we are getting there. We have just $116,000 left to go. And so if anyone is interested, you can use that QR code on the board right there. You can use the QR code on the flyers that are on your tables. You can talk to me, send me an email. I'm here and I would love to talk to you about whatever it is you want to talk about. What else can I tell you? I'll just say thank you again for all of you who have made a gift, made a pledge. We really, really appreciate it. Your funds will do good work in this community. The East Tennessee Foundation is an amazing partner with us as we have our funds invested there. And originally our goal was to make it over the $2 million mark. Well, the market has helped us a little bit till the past few days here, but it's been a good run, and we are now going to go so far north of that $2 million mark in our local foundation, and that's a really awesome thing to be able to say. So thank you, all of you.
Well, that's the best boot camp we could have asked for. You 3 have done a great job. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Ed. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, whether you've ever given a dime or you plan to, or you've given lots of dimes. Thank you, because being here, making your donations, giving your time, having lunch, talking to other people, and making this club great means that we can do things like you've heard and seen today. And every single dollar, every single bit of time you give really makes a difference. So thank you so much. And as you know, to our speakers, we have a book that we'll present to you in a few minutes and ask that you sign it so that we can donate it on your behalf to East Knox Elementary School. I'd like to thank Janice Mitchell. Thank you for coming again, all the way from one of the other Knoxville clubs. We appreciate seeing you always. Thank you to our guests, Laurel, Casey, Jeannie, and Matt Bueller. And Matt, I hope we'll see you again before you leave for Turkey, but thank you for continuing to come, and we're happy to sponsor you on your peace journey to Istanbul.